Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, standing at Granville Island, known for its beautiful scenery, fresh seafood, delicious donuts, and drag camp for kids. You're not going to want to miss this report. I just want to get a shot here of what's happening because this is part of the news that doesn't show. But this right here is part of the news.
What concerns me is this has municipal, provincial, and federal funding. On the page for Carousel Theatre, they showed 5 different grant sources for this. And that just speaks to me that this is an agenda. This is not something that would just naturally evolve.
It's when you force it on other people's children. Bring it into the schools. Why? Do what you want with your family. Leave ours alone. You know, I want my kids to play tag, not drag.
Hi, sir. You were just walking by here. You told us that earlier. How do you feel about the way you were just treated by the crowd there in front of the theater?
Intolerance. A lot of intolerance, yeah. It's not a loving, caring crowd. It's a very intolerant group, yeah.
Thanks for creating a barrier. When can we...
You're a disgrace to journalism, you piece of shit.
All right, security has arrived to keep me safe as I bring you this report covering what is happening outside of the Carousel Theatre. Believe it or not, this is the second year in a row they've hosted a drag summer camp for kids. They've got 2 different camps. One starts at age 7, that's the junior camp, and the other one is for teens. But the real story here is how state-preferred media as well as unions have come together to spin a story that those who oppose this event are a risk to the people attending, which includes children. Take a look at the City News report here.
Bernier supporters retweeting his remarks punctuated with anti-trans rhetoric.
People like Maxime Bernier and his party say things like, we need to protect the children. Yet that same Maxime Bernier is sending fascists to events towards children, possibly armed, and putting them in harm's way. How does that protect children?
In January, people protested a drag storytime event at the Coquitlam Library, hosted by local drag queen Connie Smudge, who continued with it anyway, flanked by crowds of supporters. We reached out to Carousel Theatre for comment on their plans to keep their events safe, but they didn't get back to us before broadcast.
For organizations like this theatre, they'll probably have to hire their own personal security because they can't rely on the city, they can't rely on the police.
That said, the Vancouver Police Department tells City News, we are aware of these concerns and will be able to respond to any calls should anyone need us. And in a statement, the City of Vancouver says in part, the city strongly condemns any threats or displays of violence, particularly ones that impact children and youth.
So we as LGBTQ people have to attend these events, have to show up as allies, have to carry signs, have to protest to make sure that our kids are safe. Because the ones that are advocating for their safety are putting them in harm's way.
The headline suggested that there were safety concerns, but all they did was read Maxime Bernier's tweet. They also referred to a previous drag queen story time we covered at the Coquitlam Library, but omitted showing actual violence, which was exhibited from the actual supporters of the drag event. You can see police are already present behind me. They're standing very near to the event, and we're walking up to it right now to see what's going on. Oh, it looks like this lady is trying to get the officer to move me to the other side as though I'm not a journalist. I'm working, and the faster I get my shots, the faster I can leave.
I'm not helping anybody. Oh, you know you are. Hilarious.
Don't touch me.
Yeah, Drea, let's go.
I just want to get a shot here of what's happening because this is part of the news that doesn't show. But this right here is part of the news. So there is freedom of press. He's assaulting me right now. He's touching me with his umbrella. They shouldn't be touching me.
Maybe you can move back.
I will after I get my shots. It's freedom. It's my right to be here, and it's the citizens who watch us right to see what's happening to me. Thank you.
Other side of the street, motherfuckers. You piece of shit. Fake journalist.
Thanks for creating a barrier. When can we...
You're a disgrace to journalism, you piece of shit.
while there is somewhat of a small protest here, most of the protesters that plan to protest this event decided to go to City Hall instead, where they are raising awareness about how this event is paid for by you. That's right. If you're a Canadian, you are paying for this event because the Carousel Theatre over the years has received over $400,000 taxpayer dollars. They receive federal funds, municipal funds, you name it. So it's not just about parents taking their kids to a drag camp. It's about you being forced for that type of sexual orientation indoctrination to happen. So we're going to speak to the little bit of protesters that did show up today. Of course, it doesn't look like I'm going to have luck speaking to the counter protesters. It's amazing how many police resources are being used. We saw police over in the parking lot over there, around the corner. They're in full force. And I would bet that's because of the claims that have come out. But I want to let you know why the size here is as big as it is. There's been a call to action supported by absolutely no facts whatsoever, put out by the union IATSE 118. They call for allies to come out, stating that the threats have risen to the level of threats of physical violence to people, our members, and structural violence to our employer, Carousel Theatre. And they mention a group called Action for Canada. Now, what is structural violence? I'm not sure. I will assume that means threat to property. But of course, unlike the state preferred media that's just going to copy that claim that has no evidence to support it, I did contact the Vancouver Police Department. Have they received any reports of threat to violence to anything related to this camp that is running behind me with children? The answer was no. They are not aware of any, but of course, if they come across any, they will act upon that. Now, that was just a couple of days ago. This call to action came out at least a week ago in advance. So the gentleman that was literally walking by, had no clues, just minding his own business here in Granville, is literally getting pushed away. He's being told he's not allowed on the side of the road. I'd like to get over there, but there's so many cars coming. And he's probably saying, I'm just walking by here. I'm going to try to catch him. Hi, sir. You were just walking by here. You told us that earlier. How do you feel about the way you were just treated by the crowd there in front of the theater?
Intolerance, a lot of intolerance, yeah. It's not a loving, caring crowd. It's a very intolerant group, yeah.
And what did the police tell you? Did they push you aside?
No, they said just walk by, avoid any confrontation, that's all.
Well, this is a side that claims to be about tolerance and love and acceptance, but here you are enjoying your time walking down Granville Island and being told.
I'm a visitor here. I'm a visitor. I grew up in North End, but I'm a visitor here, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Things have changed.
Not for the positive in many ways. Thanks, bye-bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
People are fixed in their positions. I remember, it reminds me of the expression, the dialogue of the deaf. People shouting and not listening. Now, I'd far rather be integrated with them and have discussions with them. I'd probably find common ground if we had a chance to talk. There seems to be no talking, just ritualized chanting. So basically, it seems to me that chanting is one of the means by which cults are formed and maintained, is chanting. Because chanting is like conformity. Conforming to a certain thinking. I just would like to see a resolution to the polarization.
What concerns me is this has municipal, provincial, and federal funding. On the page for Carousel Theatre, they showed 5 different grant sources for this. And that just speaks to me that this is an agenda. This is not something that would just naturally evolve. And I think that really shows that there's a push for this and to target kids.
Speaking of not naturally evolving, there was also a claim that the protesters that would come out here today are using threats of violence and property damage. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there have been about 7 of us. We've all been in the same place. There were potentially violent incidents that did occur out east. I want to say, a week and a half ago. I can't really speak to that. I've been here since 8:45. It's been pretty chill. I want to make this really clear. I'm not anti-police. I've never subscribed to being against the police. But sometimes we're not sure what to expect because it kind of seems like there's a bit of a two-tiered kind of legal system that favors this side and not us. But we want to keep the peace. We don't want to instigate a fight. We've stayed on this side of the street. We don't want to fight here today, and we don't want to create any incident.
All right, now you came all the way from Chilliwack. It's about an hour drive on a Tuesday. Why was it important for you to be here?
Because it's important for us to stand up for our children. Drag queens and drag people, LGBTQ, they can do whatever they want. Really, we don't care. Nobody cares what other people do with their sex life. But what we do care is they don't let our kids, they want to take the innocence out of our children. And little do they know, they're working for the WEF. They're loving this, Trudeau's loving this. That's why people need to wake up, because there's more to the story.
Now, some people would say, you know what, these are parents. You guys talk about parental rights. These are parents bringing their own children to these events. Why are you protesting that?
Well, because it's not about what they do with their kids. Their kids obviously grow up with this, but my friends who are gay and married to other women, married to men married to men, women married to men, have kids too. And they're raised properly. Yes, there's nothing about that. But it's when you force it on other people's children. Bring it into the schools. Why? Do what you want with your family. Leave ours alone. I want my kids to play tag, not drag. I want my kids to go out and play hide and seek and to grow up playing in puddles, not dressing up. If they want to dress up, they can do that at my house.
All right, this is Tammy. Now, we've interviewed you before, and we got a new face with you. It's your grandson. For those who are not familiar with you, why is it important for you to protest these sorts of situations?
I'm here to protect children. I am a lesbian. I have 13 grandchildren, Keegan being one of them. He's 16. And we talked about how they were going to have drag queen summer camp for children starting, I think, at age 7 here. And I feel that it's wrong for adults that are not the parents of the children to introduce topics like this to the children, especially at that young age.
Usually I like to be a bit more private kind of with my personal life, but I'm a bisexual man. Women are amazing. I like women in general, but I like women, I like men. And every fiber of my being just screams against this. And the sign that I'm wearing states, I want a divorce, LGB, lesbian, gay, bisexual, scissor emoji, TQ. Old school trans and LGB say no to groomers. We're not anti-trans, we're not anti-gay, but we're anti-indoctrination. So, while this looks great to the average viewer, while this seems great to, the average kind of liberal person that might not dive deep enough and investigate for themselves, what I see is this huge change in community and this pernicious idea that, for one, kids can make consent to surgeries, that kids can make consent to really being in circumstances they shouldn't be in. And mark my words, the next thing that's going to come down the pipeline under queer theory or whatever is going to be children who are giving consent. It's okay for them to have sex with adults. All I see in this, the only thing I see in this is an agenda to legalize pedophilia.
Well, thankfully, my security as well as the VPD did their jobs well today and no harm came to me. But if you appreciate our boots on the ground to cover this important issue safely, please help us continue to do so and recoup the cost to have the guards here with me today. You can go to journalistdefensefund.com and chip in whatever you can towards that. And if you want to keep educating people about the sexual indoctrination of children, then you can share our URL at stopclassroomgrooming.com.